I grew up in a really loving family here in Berlin in the 90s. It was the onset of the techno revolution, parties everywhere, drugs. But I didn't see much of that. My mother is from the mountains of Kashmir, so the complete, total opposite in terms of conservative family values. And so I remember these nights when we were sitting in front of the TV, always at 8:15 for the blockbuster on Pro7. And we would watch that movie, and after half an hour, some slightly romantic scene would occur, maybe a kiss, and that's the moment where my mother's hand would go in front of my eyes. And then whoever had the remote control in that moment had to switch the channel right away and go to some quiz show for 5 minutes so that we could chill down, calm down, and then go back to that channel and continue the story as if nothing had happened. So yeah, you can imagine I had a hard time figuring out dating and romance in my youth. As a young man, I really didn't know what to do when a girl that I actually had a crush on asked me out. And she said, "Hey, do you want to go with me?" I think that's what it says in German. You say, "Willst du mit mir gehen?" And I really didn't know what that meant. I didn't know where she wanted to go with me. And I said, "No, I'm fine here, I'll stay. Where do you want to go?" So I was really clueless at that time, but it was okay because I was supposed to focus on studies. That was the expectation from my family, to do really good at school, and that was easy. When you didn't have the distraction from parties and girls and alcohol, I mean, doing well at school was really easy because you just do the homework and you're good. But my mother always said, you know, think about these things when you're done with your education. You know, you have time. Just finish your education first. And I guess I liked that. And I was good at education, and I just prolonged my education as long as I could so that I didn't have to think about all this complicated stuff. So I was like 25, 26, and still not done with my education because I had chosen to enter a PhD program, the final letter. And when I was almost done with that, I said, okay, now I think it's time to start dating and to understand what that actually means. And even my mother agreed. She said, yeah, now it's the time. Now you're done. Time to get married. I said, wait, I skipped the dating part. Like, how can I get married right away? No. In India, it doesn't work that way. You might not be aware, but Indian families, they just look for someone in their network, in their communities, and you don't have to date in India to get married. And so I kind of was open to that idea, and I got some messages on WhatsApp, and there were like pictures of women that were single, and I got the CV and I got some information. But I couldn't see myself marrying anyone off of WhatsApp. And so that didn't work for me for sure. And I said, I'm going to try the more Western way of just, you know, going about your life and making eye contact and meeting someone at a party. And that didn't happen. It took me 2 or 3 years of realizing that it was just not going to happen that way. And I asked my friends, how do you do it, guys? Like, they said, you just go to a party, you go to a bar. And I went with them to a bar, but I realized that what they were really doing was to get drunk and high. And I was not into drugs either because that was also taboo in my family and I really didn't want to. So I said, damn, this is not going to work for me either. I tried online dating, and that was probably the most scarring experience because I chose the best pictures from my whole life. I thought I had a lot of adventures. Not a single match in 2 weeks, and so I felt really rejected, and that never again, never do that again. So I thought that there's only one option left, which was like doing that thing that some old people told me about and some people on the internet. You could just walk up to a woman, and when you find her attractive, you could just say hi and start a conversation. And no one did that. I didn't know anyone who really did that, at least not when they were sober. But I thought this is probably my only option. And actually, it was really important for me to find the right partner, also because of that family expectations. But I also really wanted to find a great partner to found a family with. It was important because I thought nothing else determines the quality of your life that much as the person that you end up spending it with. And so I remember that day I was in the library still, and I saw someone. I always saw people that were attractive, but that day I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to go there. And I went to that table. She was sitting there studying, and I just slowly approached her and leaned down and I could see everything shaking. I think I'm not even sure what I said. I think I managed to say hello. Not much more for sure, but it was like, okay, I survived and I can do it again. So I did that again a few times on the campus and I got better, and at some point I knew how to start a story at least, and maybe I got even like a compliment out, and then I got some thank yous, and sometimes I got some really good reaction. I got someone saying, yeah, I have a boyfriend, but I really like the way you did that. Keep doing it, just go on and you'll find someone. I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. I mean, if she says it, I'm gonna do it. And I did it 1,000 times after that. No kidding, at least. At some point I started counting, and I did it in total around 2,000 times. But I said, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. And then around the 637th time in the year of 2020, I finally found that person. She was just sitting in the club, and by that time I had lost all the fear of getting rejected, because I'd gotten rejected 2,000 times, you know. It doesn't matter if you get rejected another 2,000 times. So I was just being myself, and I just go in, and it was Corona time, so you're not allowed to dance on the dance floor. I just sat down and next to her and said, hey, we're not allowed to dance on the dance floor, but let's dance with our hands. So I started dancing, and she joined in that dance with the hands, and that's how I met the woman that I'm with right now. And so it worked for me, and I realized that a lot of people have the same problems, and ended up becoming a dating coach, teaching people how to do that. And most of it is just pushing through those 3,000 rejections. But that's my way of getting the curve.